Hey everybody, Alex Terrace here, healthhacksreviewed.com. So this video is actually on PEMF for New Zealand and Australia market. So there's not as many options down in your region for good PEMF systems, but I'll back that up by saying that in this category, while there are 20 something PEMF systems out there, brands, there's not many that are legit and good for the entire world in general in the market right now in the industry. So you're not alone. It's just, as you know, it's sometimes a little trickier to get things down there, imported or exported. And so getting into this, if you don't know anything about me, so I basically research and review all kinds of different health devices in different product categories. So for your region, for example, people will consult with me like, hey Alex, for Australia, or I live, Auckland, or here, what would be the best oxygen therapy system, right? And then I'll dive into that, which is the best exercise with oxygen training system for that area. I'll help them with that. What about a class 4 laser? I have a practice and I'm treating injuries. What lasers can I get that are the best in that area? So I kind of do that with different categories. PEMF is probably more confusing a category than a lot of these other ones for most consumers. There's a lot of false science and a lot of marketing games. It is pretty much impossible for your average consumer to figure out. And actually there's even some health gurus and researchers out there that are curating information like I do that I believe are totally wrong with their endorsements as well. Just FYI as a sidebar. That's why endorsements aren't really that helpful if it's coming from like a well-known big name. Versus it's probably better to get an endorsement honestly from like your aunt or uncle who's like really sick and they feel better. But anyways, so moving on. Okay, let's get a little focused here. And so I'll narrow things down greatly for you. In Australia and New Zealand, there's really only one legitimate PEMF. What do I mean by legitimate? What does that mean? Well, PEMF stands for pulsed electromagnetic frequency, right? So gosh, that's an important acronym. It is. It has to do with pulsing electromagnetic frequency fields. Okay? So in other words, the acronym really does explain what it is. If you don't know what each of those words mean, Wikipedia them. Like literally just look up the basic scientific understanding. That would be a start. Most people actually don't do that. So when you actually then look that up on Wikipedia, with even that just basic knowledge, understand like what is frequency? Like if we just even get into that. And what's an electromagnetic wave? And you see a visual diagram, or YouTube's great. Believe it or not, even if you just look at that right quick right now, and you look at the different PEMF being sold in Australia and New Zealand, you'll actually see that none of them, except for this brand right here, Energetic Fitness Systems, or EFS, we refer to as for short, this is the only one that actually is producing that in the human body. Okay, the only one. And that's not like a subjective opinion. If you get down to the science and then ask the right questions and you get the right explanation from these other PEMFs, like for example, you say, hey, how are you pulsing the electromagnetic field? Or how are you producing 10 hertz frequency? What they'll actually explain to you, and again, this is why you gotta look up some of these words first, is they'll say, hey, well, we actually were pulsing, we're getting a digital, if you select 10 hertz on the digital display or on the device, it's actually sending a square wave usually, or a sawtooth wave, that is mimicking a natural sine wave. Okay, so look up Google sine wave, what that looks like. So, and let me just do that for you right now so you actually see what I'm talking about. So, because this is important to understand. So this is what it looks like. See that little curve right there? So basically, if you were listening to music, per se, these are the types of sound waves, all sorts of natural waves in nature, in your body itself, are actually following sine waves. That's what they are, okay? And each cell, when they're saying cell-to-cell signaling, when they're talking to each other, which is how everything gets done in the body, healing, repair, everything, stress, it's actually being sent. The information is traveling on a sine wave. This is important to note. So because when you're looking at other PEMF devices out there for Australia and New Zealand, what they're actually sending out and producing is a square wave. Okay, so check this out for a second. Now you see that, how it goes like this? Square, down, right? Square, down, up, and square. Where do you see that in nature? Nowhere. Now I'm not going to sit here and say that there's not some PEMF devices out there with square wave patterns that actually have studies and get results. But it's more limited in its scope of action for those devices. Like if you have a small injury on your body, or you need to mend a bone or something like that, sure, buy a $400 square wave device. Don't blow your money on thousands. That's a whole other story. And you can actually repair that 3-4 times faster. And you just need to quench inflammation locally in the area. So they have a narrow scope of action. They can work well for some specific things. So just reach out if you have questions about that. But my point here is that there's no legit real devices in your area except for that one, because these are natural waves of which your entire body is running all kinds of different signals to make everything work and orchestrating it. Orchestrate, see there's already a connection between nature and sound and all kinds of stuff. It's always involved with these waves. But what about these right here? So because this is so unnatural, it's very limited, extremely limited in what this can actually do for you. So for example, if, let me back up for a second. So all the other devices you'll look at in Australia and New Zealand, and really the whole market, they will have digital, they'll produce these frequencies, hey, we have 8 hertz, or we have 7.83, or we have this hertz, and when we deliver this particular frequency, it'll do this. So first off, they're producing a square wave. So this is a pulse, on, off. That's a pulse, not a frequency. It's a pulse rate, not a frequency. Remember that. But they'll promote their device to you, not energetic fitness systems, but all these other ones, and they'll say, hey, it's a frequency. They're saying, hey, we're sending this magic frequency to you, but it's not. As you can see, visually, it's very apparent. This is a pulse rate. So again, this does have some efficacy out there for specific things, but it's very narrow in its therapeutic scope of action versus a natural wave, okay? So already it's very confusing, as you can imagine, when they're saying, oh, they're just throwing around the word frequency like you can't just throw around these terms and have them not mean what they mean. Do you know what I mean? Anyways, so that's why at the top here they say biocompatible analog PEMF technology, right? So think about that for a second. I'm talking about some of these sine waves being more natural. So in other words, the electromagnetic energy that is actually being put out by this device is actually conducive to assisting you in a natural way. This is how your body is already working. It's just mimicking that and enhancing it. Then analog, the difference between digital and analog. So we come back here again, okay? So when you're trying to, there's a much more technical explanation, but basically let this be visually the difference in your mind. So when you go digital, then basically you have to mimic with these squares. You have to try to mimic a wave like this. So let me see if I can get a closer image. No, it's not going to do. But in other words, they can't actually, digitally you cannot reproduce exactly an analog sine wave. So you have to try to produce something that looks or behaves similarly, but it's not the same. It can never be the same. So the effect can never be the same biologically as a true sine wave. Okay, I know this is getting like a little tedious. This is so crucial to understand because people are spending thousands of dollars on these other PEMF units out there, believing they're going to help them with this and help them with that and help with that, and they're making up all these claims. These companies are saying, hey, it's going to do this, it's going to do that. A lot of those claims they make are based off of sine wave PEMF, of which there used to be more of them out there on the market, and there used to be a lot of old school studies, especially in the 60s and 70s. And Russia actually did, like, probably spent $1 billion just researching electromagnetic waves and PEMF and all kinds of stuff, a huge amount of research, and they discovered amazing things. However, they're using analog sine waves that were biocompatible, not square waves. They did let me clarify, they did also in later times do research with square waves and pulse rates, okay? But the bulk of the original research, a lot of the amazing benefits they found with a wider scope of action with the sine waves. So I'm going to now talk about something else here, is that this is the important takeaway, is the main disadvantage that most of the PEMF devices out there that have the digital produced square waves is that they can only sound like 1 pulse rate or 2 or 3, not many. It's very selected because it takes a lot of processing power, and they're doing it digitally with chips and things like that. But the body itself has millions to billions to trillions of frequencies. And so if you had like a health condition, I have a heart condition, let's say. I don't personally have one, but like say somebody has one, okay? There's so many different aspects of that condition that have manifested the heart condition. There's many different facets to the body that are involved, many processes in creating the symptoms and the health condition, the disease. There's really actually no such thing as diseases, by the way, but it's a side tangent. So we'll just use that word for now. Okay, so then it's like, well, what does the body need on a signal level, right? What signals is the immune system doing to help command a healing process, a homeostasis process, whatever the body requires? It's sending like a bajillion frequencies. It's modulating all kinds of frequencies. Just inside the cell, there's tens of thousands of frequencies happening. If we want to take it to an atom level, each atom has its own. So really it's like at the point, there's no point in counting after a while, okay? It's just a lot of frequencies. So in other words, to really heal something, to really have a holistic effect, to really modulate all the different information and signals being sent from the heart to the brain, to the digestive tract, to the gut biome, to what you're eating, to your autonomic nervous system, if you're stressing, if you're happy, all these factors, if there's smoke in your environment, if you have low oxygen in your home, okay, all these things, it's just all, think about it, it's just all frequencies your body's trying to modulate against, okay? So that when you factor that in and they're saying, hey, we're gonna put this 1 pulse rate, 7 point whatever into your body, and it's gonna do all this magical stuff for your heart condition or for all these things, I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. Will it do something to you? Of course it will, but it's going to have a very, very, very narrow scope of action, in terms of how it's really going to help you. And so when we get into sine waves, this device, let's roll into what it looks like here. So this device, I kind of look at it, I kind of tell people it's almost like a secondary immune system is one way to maybe look at it, that's externalized outside you. And that's not even the best analogy. It's actually hard to come up with analogies for this. But so what you do is you stand on this glass plate. There's silver on the underside of that. It's connected to this, this amplifying system here. Let's see here, it's power supply, that's your plate. And you see here, there's a better picture of it, but she's actually holding onto a glass bulb. Here's the glass bulb right here. And that is actually, so what's happening is it's sending electromagnetic frequency, or energy, let's just say energy for now, into the bulb, and it's actually discharging, it's ionizing plasma. Have you ever seen those like plasma balls you put your hands on, and it like makes the little lines form to your hands, and it can make your hair stand up? Similar principle, just in terms of discharging plasma inside there. I'm not going to get into the details of what kind of gas is in there. Actually, I will. It's neon gas, and each noble gas is actually connected to different parts of your body. You may not know this. So neon is connected to the blood stream, to hemoglobin. So it's actually sending these frequencies through the blood, and of course that's great because your blood goes everywhere. So then it can affect all kinds of different aspects and processes in your body. So what it does is it sends an electromagnetic wave, and this is how the original machines were done, by the way, and even like multi-wave oscillators. If you look at the history from like pre-1900 and up, first guy that really built one of the better devices was Tesla. It was actually Tesla. So interesting fact. But so it sends an electromagnetic wave. Wait, what's that? Electromagnetic wave, this is a good example. It's a sine wave. It's analog. Remember Google analog? Google analog versus digital. And it sends this through the bulb. So if you're standing on the plate right here, okay, holding the bulb, it's sending a 180-degree spiral. It's hard to explain, folks, I'm sorry, without a visual diagram. But anyways, you can talk to me about it if you're interested. So it's spiraling. In other words, when you send a wave, everything is actually, it's not a wave like a 2D representation like that picture you saw. It's actually a spiral. It's just like if you took a photo of a spiral, would it be in 3D? No. It would actually look like a 2D representation, like in that image I was showing you on Google, okay? So it's actually sending a spiral through her body, and I forget if it's clockwise or counterclockwise, coming through the top here. Okay, but bottom line, it's spinning one of those directions. So it's spinning in here, it's forming that, and then when she's standing on the plate, this is also separately connected to the machine, also sending a 180-degree spiral the opposite direction, counterclockwise or clockwise, whatever the opposite is to this one. And then what happens is when those waves overlap in the center of the body, gosh, let me show you. I got to show you a diagram. A scalar wave. Let's see if this pulls it up. Yeah, this might work. Okay, so let's see if we can make this a little bigger for you. But basically, so when it's sending, then these spirals will actually meet inside of your body. Okay. Oh man, this is frustrating, folks. Bear with me a second here. I probably should have had this pulled up a little bit more. So I'm just going to use this one right here. These spirals actually come together, okay? So they're actually starting to blend together. And so one is actually going up. It goes like this. Watch my mouse, okay, for a second. Imagine 180 degrees, it's going clockwise, let's just say, okay? But you're looking at the side of it. Up and up and down, just like that sine wave, right? But coming from the other direction now, or from the bottom up, right? So top down, bottom up. It's coming down, then up, then down and up, opposite, okay? So as this one goes up, this other wave's going the other direction down. And what happens is there's a whole effect that takes place here where these fields overlap, okay, in between. And scalar waves they're theoretical, they have been proven with mathematics. It's still complicated, okay, the bottom line. When somebody's like, oh, scalar waves, that's easy, you know, it's just like this and this. When they make it sound really easy, it's not that easy. Like, it's still kind of a little hard to understand and theoretical, but it is they are real, and it's how an integral part of how all the wavelengths, all the electromagnetic wavelengths in your body work, like how everything actually works and organizes itself in cells on an atomic level. So it's a real thing. We've been able to prove it enough anyways. So why I'm going into all these details? Okay, because this is what the original PEMF devices were really looking into. And sending these in, so this is the big piece of how this works, which is still complicated to explain. I can explain it better if you reach out to me and I have more time. And I can also email you some information as well. But so this is where the magic happens. So a scalar field is capable of containing unlimited amounts of frequencies, electromagnetic frequencies or wavelengths, depending on how you're measuring it, the type of electromagnetic frequency, okay? So in the case of, we're talking about multiple sine waves, imagine there's so many sine waves just in a cell that are all overlapping in harmony together. If you're healthy in the cell, it's in harmony. If you're not, it's in dysresonance. And then all the health problems start. You get signals, bad signals. Viruses can send out disharmonious signals and interrupt other wave patterns, okay? So as this sets up a scalar wave in the body, what happens is every cell or every frequency in your body can be picked up in that field, basically. And because you're interconnected with the device here, those frequencies through the field, the electromagnetic field, can be run back into the machine, and the machine does one thing. It amplifies, raises the amplitude. That's something to Google as well, or talk to me about. But anyways, it amplifies. So it's basically like turning up the volume. You're like, okay, I can't quite hear that cell. I think, this is the immune system now in the brain, I think that it needs, you know, this and this and this to heal, or whatever, or it needs this type of hormone right now. I can't quite hear it though. Well, that's where problems happen, right? So this machine just dials that up. It's like dialing up the volume. And now the music's like, oh gosh, I can hear everything now. I need to fix this. I need to fix that. Oh my God, I didn't realize. So that's kind of what's happening. And so it's actually then it's like, okay, wow, well, geez, I need to modulate these 1 million frequencies over here. Literally. Now, you're not going to be modulating 1 million frequencies with these other devices, period. And the reason you know that is because they're only telling you that they're setting one frequency. Okay, so that it's, in other words, that's why it's kind of cool. It's like externalizing. It's like taking how your body already works and raising its potential to work better. And this is another tangent I'm not going to get into, but the question then to ask is like, hey, well, why do we have that breakdown in the body? Why is there that degeneration? Why do things become imbalanced? It's actually it's a conversation that gets into biophysics. So PEMF was always supposed to be a device that worked on a biophysical level and really helped you at that level and was very therapeutic because of that. But all these other devices out there really don't get into that. And there's whole other things that we can talk about here. Harmonics of scale and how that plays a part in this, and keeping cells functioning well and keeping the whole organism healthy. So it's raising up the power. When you get into scalar wave and delivering electromagnetic frequencies as wave, you can actually truly raise cell voltage in a cell. If you've heard of that, Google cell voltage and health, for example. You can actually charge up a cell. A cell can actually draw pure energy into the mitochondria. You can actually revitalize your body. And there's not many things that can do that, by the way, out there, but it is actually possible, but you have to have something that is natural and biocompatible to do that. That's why these technologies are amazing, but there's like this one left. And thank God it's a good one, right? We could be left with something that like had some drawbacks or something, right? Okay, so this has had a lot of interesting like tests done on it. Live blood cell is really interesting. By the way, a lot of companies, when they show you live blood cell photos, they're just stock photos. I've learned that, by the way. And I've actually tracked down the live blood cell for this one and also run my own tests as well. But I actually want to point out something that's good here before I close the video out here. You've all heard of Kirlian photography. That was started by, is it Joseph Kirlian? Dr. Kirlian, anyways. It was an actual, it's his name, and he actually did really in-depth research, very credible and very well accepted, his information actually, on the energy field or as they refer to, electrophotonic images around various objects, the human hand, the apple, okay? Now what happened is he died, but he had a lot of information and stuff he could have dove into further. He didn't get a chance to. So he gave all of his life work to Professor Konstantin Krokotov. I used to be able to say his name. Krotokop. Anyways, so he passed it on. He is a genius in his own right and continued to do awesome research in Russia, where all the awesome energy medicine research is done, to be honest. And so he continued, and he actually came up with a really amazing device. It was very expensive, and it could test what they would refer to as gas discharge, gas discharge. So they're referring to like the plasma or the gas around the body, and they could actually measure this field. How cool is that? And this guy, when you look into it, like he is very well respected all over in many countries. Many different conferences he is showing up at. His work has spawned all kinds of other research. Energy medicine is actually highly studied. Biophysics is a whole field a lot of people don't know about. It's obviously disregarded by mainstream medicine, but you go to a lot of these other countries and they're like, they know about this shit. Like and it's okay. Like America and Canada and like even Australia and there's some other countries, they're just, when you go to the mainstream practitioners, it's just, yeah, it's not that well known or well accepted, but look this guy up. He, by the way, invented a home user model of how you can measure this, or if you're a practitioner, it's called the BioWell. And I do have a coupon discount if you ever want to get this thing. And it basically allows you to put in one finger at a time. So he made a more affordable model, basically. And it carefully analyzes. And by the way, I've seen this machine backed up. Besides all the amazing research and study behind it, I've seen it compared to other types of testing done, and it gets the same results and way better diagnostic information. So I've seen it compared with lots of people. So I also know it's legit just from my own research. So it basically will be able to measure different energy states, different aspects of the organs, the meridian system, and much more than that around the finger. So you measure one finger at a time. You actually stick it in this device right here. It's the BioWell. So his original device was a little more sophisticated in that you would measure all the fingers at once, okay? But this works just as well, it just takes more time, that's all. It's no big deal. And it's pretty good price device. Anyways, but yeah, they basically measured their system, the energetic fitness system, with his device and got results that were just off the charts, which was not surprising when you understand how this device actually works. So guys, I'm just going to leave it there for now. I could get into so much more about this, but this video is wound on and on and on. But if you're in Australia, New Zealand, but if you're also anywhere else in the world, this is an incredible PEMF technology. The only one that can truly say it is real pulsed electromagnetic frequency. Any devices that you'll be buying in Australia, UK, or anywhere else in the world, New Zealand, they will be actually the term would be magnetic pulse field generators. Okay, that's really what they are. And that's very different than pulsed electromagnetic frequency, okay? So just, even if none of this makes sense still right now, reach out to me and just know that they're two very different technologies in terms of how they affect the human organism, the body, okay? Very, very different. So I'm not saying that magnetic field generators don't have some research out there, but it's a lot to sort through, and there's still a lot of BS out there in that category, a lot. There is some efficacy over there. It's just a very narrow scope. And then with real PEMF, it's like the sky. There is no limit in terms of how it can affect the body. But anyways, reach out to me if you have more questions. Leave some comments on my YouTube video if you have any questions about this. You can live chat me on my website, send me an email. I don't charge. If you want to chat with me, you can chat with me anytime for free. And anyways, thanks for being patient and watching this video. It kind of got dark outside, so I don't even know if anybody can see me anymore. But once I get on a roll here, I don't feel like redoing the video. So anyways, thanks for watching.